And welcome back to part 5, everyone. It will be the last part of this section of the My Hero What If. And then we're moving on to Dragon Balls again. So, part 5. What happened in the last part? Well, we speed blitzed through a bunch of it. But, suffice to say, things like Overhaul was really no difficulty for Midoriya. Dealing with Bakugo and their little scuffle was no difficulty for Midoriya. Magenta wasn't any real difficulty. He's really not had any strong struggles at this point. We've also been noted that he hasn't really talked to the Vestiges yet in terms of starting to access their other quirks, but this is around the point that would change based on the amount of time that'd be lapsing between the joint training mission, the was it interning under Endeavor, all that. There's a decent amount of time that kind of passes between there, so it's enough time that Midoriya probably has reached the point where he has started having the dreams of the Vestiges talking to him. Now, Midoriya, we wouldn't really catch up with Midoriya all too quickly until the war arc itself actually takes place, or at least the first part of it. Where him and Bakugo are kind of teaming up. Bakugo has probably chilled out a little bit at this point, but he's still just pissed off with Midoriya. And it really isn't until that Shigaraki finds them, it's like, Midoriya, please hand over One for All. And so Midoriya is now, it's like, oh crap. But even with One for All, All for Ones, the quirk, you wouldn't really, unless Midoriya, is knocked out and can't consciously turn, or even unconsciously turn into lightning, unless that's the case, you're never going to be able to steal any quirk off of Midoriya when he's got a Logia fruit, because he can literally turn into a non-material, well, not non-material, but a non-flesh substance. Maybe some of the quirks like the Magna or the Ice fruit, because they do have at least there's something to at least grab there. You could have that argument with, but otherwise, no. Midoriya and Bakugo do their best to hold him off. Endeavor comes, kind of just does prominence immolation, or prominence burn, or just immolates him. Immolation. And Midoriya, knowing the burden he has under him, does start going toe-to-toe with Shigaraki as they're fighting. Now, Shigaraki does try to use his quirk, and in a desperate bid and desperate need, Midoriya is able to pull people off the ground. Should also note, as I said earlier, that Midoriya has metal in his suit now. We know that his, I know that's supposed to be a mask. He almost never wears it. Well, that's not true. It's not that he almost never wears it. But he only ever really wears it with his cowl as well. Still, that's metal. He's got metal soles in his shoes, but he's also probably got metal lined around him, so he can pretty much fly at this point. And so it's at that point then where he has a brief conversation, or not real world time, but inner world time with Bancha, saying, "You need to grab something, right, kid? You were trying to do that to save him. Well, that's what my quirks for, top notch. These quirks are a lot stronger now, so be ready." Midoriya's able to kind of bear through the pain and save everyone. But now we get to the actual need of this. Now, how good would Midoriya's quirk actually be against Shigaraki at this point? And I'm looking up something right now. How hot is lightning? Because even Endeavor's heat, when he concentrated to its max, was not hot enough to kill Shigaraki. Shigaraki was still able to survive. Lightning can heat up the air around you to incredible, apparently 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And how hot can fire get? How hot can fire get? But let's see. So, but fire only ranges are about 5,612 degrees. Okay, so this definitely makes it a lot easier to kind of pinpoint this down, I think. Of course, that's the oxygen of his. Of course, fire's temperature depends on the fuel and oxygen available, but a range from a candle is only about 100, but an acetylene torch is 5,612. But that's not. But then I think we can all agree. Endeavor's heat went a lot hotter than that. Actually, let me just look up Endeavor real quick. I never actually had to look this up before. But how hot does that get? Endeavor. Let's see here, because this is kind of Endeavor. This is kind of crucial for this part right here because, come on, and there we go. That's where I'm misspelling it. Endeavor. Okay. Because if Endeavor's a prominence attack or prominence burn attack is not as hot as Midoriya's lightning, well then Midoriya's actually got a good chance of straight up beating Todoroki here and now. But if it's hotter than lightning, then actually Midoriya's not as strong as Endeavor in this. Now, mind you, Endeavor can't use this ability willy-nilly. Promise. Okay. Prominence burn. This attack allows a master concentrate beam of heat. Endeavor stated that it's the most powerful attack. Does it state how hot it is? Because it goes white hot. It does not say how hot it is. Okay, so that's because I doubt he's going like the heat of the sun. First off, if you were to actually light something as hot as the sun in our atmosphere, you'd light the planet up. So I doubt it's that. But then again, anime logic. Endeavor. How hot is Endeavor's prominence burn? How hot is Endeavor's oh, there we go. Endeavor's prominence burn. Okay. While there's no specific temperature given, it implies extreme hot, reaching temperatures comparable to exceeding blue flames, which is around 14. Okay, so this is no, lightning gets exceedingly hotter than any flame allegedly. Ian, this is just a guess. It's between around 1400 and 2500 degrees Celsius. Lightning, however, is around the Celsius mark of about 30,000 degrees Celsius. So lightning is, roughly speaking, if we maxed out that number of 250, is roughly speaking about 12 times hotter than the prominence burn. And that's not even including all for one, one for all, augmenting the quirk even further. So if Midoriya truly wants to, he can in fact just obliterate him if he actually wants to. So in theory, he could end this whole thing right now, and then one for all, sorry, I always do that, all for one, has to think of a new plan long term. However, we know that's not the case. We know that's not what Midoriya is going to try to do. He's going to try to save Shigaraki as best he can. And these two would clash probably as they did in the original. The only difference is here, Midoriya can just keep coming back because Midoriya's limbs just keep reforming. And Shigaraki's like, Midoriya, you're so annoying, Midoriya. Damn it. But I gotta admit, that quirk of yours, you're just like Aizawa. You're just Eraserhead. You're just so cool. And just tries to attack him. It's not working out in Shigaraki's favor. And Midoriya is kind of roasting his ass, really. Just zap. Which begs the question, is Kaminari's lightning hotter than Endeavor's fire if he's going all out? It's not natural lightning. I mean, it moves around the same speed, but it's clearly not the same level of heat. Whereas the Goro Goro is described as legitimate lightning. So the question then would become does maybe Shigaraki just get caught instead? Because Gigantomachia would also come into the fray. As strong as Midoriya is, he can't take on everyone at once. Like, even he's got limitations, and he's got stamina. He's got stamina limitations. So their fight would continue for a little bit longer. You'd get the odd characters showing in here. Gigantomachia would come in, but they eventually pin him down. Ultimately, he gets even more injured from Midoriya to the point where I think he's actually out of commission for longer. But Midoriya is also tiring out as well. It's the first time in his life that he's actually really had to go all out for a good long while. So even though he won't break his limbs with one for all, he's still going to end up tiring out to the point where he can't keep fighting. And we know for a fact Eraserhead ultimately had to take his eyes off Shigaraki. Now, mind you, Shigaraki's regeneration, he wasn't complete yet. So there's still limitations to what Shigaraki can do as well. And so he does realize he has to get out of there. And I think even though Midoriya is still getting in his way, he eventually, through the help of his friends, the League of Villains, oh, I got a yawn, hold on. Okay. I think, and Midoriya tiring out in his own way, and Dabi coming in and countering with his own fire, which is still annoying, which doesn't mix well with lightning. It doesn't really mix at all. But it's enough to kind of throw Midoriya off a little bit. Is ultimately Shigaraki does make his escape. Now, the question I guess that should be raised is One For All found out to the world here? And does Midoriya do his vigilante arc? I imagine it would be. I do imagine it still has to be found out and known to all. But I don't think Deku goes on the vigilante arc. I just don't think there's a real reason for him to do that here. He hasn't had to deal with the same struggles as he did in the original, or the same burdens he's been placing on other people in the original. I don't know why I'm suddenly yawning like crazy. I need to eat and I need a hot shower. That's what I need. So I don't see the vigilante arc happening here. I think he stays with his friends. I think and Bakugo, now understanding the burden that got placed on him, is a little bit more sympathetic. Though he's also pissed off. Why wasn't it me? Oh my, come on! But no, I think ultimately Midoriya stays around, and Bakugo chills out a little bit. Now, this means, though, that would Midoriya be around to save those heroes from Muscular? Probably not. At least not initially. Oh, God. Again, I don't know why. I literally am just starting to yawn like crazy. Does the Lady Nagat thing happen again like it does in the original? Probably not, unless Midoriya or someone has to go and stop her, outright. Because there's still going to be the jailbreak. And there's still going to be Shigaraki, Stars and Stripes. Actually, because Shigaraki still has to spend some extra time healing because of everything Midoriya did to him, Stars and Stripes might, legitimately make it to the battlefield. Although he probably recovers a little bit. He was still trying to become complete at that point, even though he had recovered. So I imagine it'd still be the same here. And then really you would get into the war arc, more or less. Which means, obviously, now I can't remember. Was it Kurogiri who separated them, or was someone else? I can't exactly remember. But Midoriya, would Midoriya have all of the quirks at this point? I would actually argue he might not have Gear Shift or Fajin at this point. Not that he inherently needs them, but I'm not sure he would have them. He would definitely still have Black Whip. He would definitely still have Float, Danger Sense, and Fog. I think those ones, or Smokescreen, whatever it's called. I think it's Smokescreen. I think those are a given. I think he has those. Fajin and Gear Shift, though, I can't say he would at this point, unless they give him access to it just before. Just because I don't think he's going to have him going on his own, for example, I think, and him having those conversations with the Vestiges was kind of important for him to get the trust of the second or third user. I don't know. You can make the argument maybe it still happens, him still having those conversations, but I don't know. I don't think he would, actually. Not that I think he needs it. Because him and Shigaraki ultimately still come toe-to-toe, come face-to-face, using just Float and his natural quirk along with his magnetism. He gets there in time. He's able to, and him and Shigaraki go toe-to-toe as they did in the original. The only difference here is now he's just going full 100%, full-on lightning blast, and they are just going toe-to-toe as hard as they can with each other. And once again, Shigaraki does not have a quirk, as far as we know, that can do anything to Midoriya. One For All does not have, I always do it, All For One does not have a quirk that in theory should be able to do anything to Midoriya. And so their fight would probably go pretty hard. And it would, I think, if anything, it would be at that point that the one for all users, like all the one for all users, would finally say, "All right, fine, we got to help them." Like so, both the Fajin and the Bruce, and I can't remember the other one, but Fajin and Gearshift would finally come into play, but not because they're getting his quirks, but because ultimately it might still come down to breaking the walls of Shigaraki. Again, Midoriya, if he really wants to, can roast this guy's ass anytime he wants. He can literally kill him anytime he wishes. He just chooses not to do that. And Shigaraki, I think, kind of actually picks up on this. Like, you're holding back, Midoriya. Midoriya, why? Why? You're stronger than this. Stronger than this. You think you can mock me after you can't stop me, Midoriya, no matter what you do. And Midoriya shows like I will do what I have to do to stop you. And again, Shigar's like, he's holding back. You're still holding back. You hold back, I'll kill you. He just keeps annoying the shit out of Shigaraki is the problem. Now, at the end, in the end, it still comes down to him and I think the Demon King, which is what obviously All For One becomes after he possesses Shigaraki. But before we get to that, there is one other bit we have to deal with, and that's All Might versus All For One. Why is that important? Well, because in this version, All Might has been holding on to that little last ember he has of One For All. So he, in fact, not only does he have the All Might armor, he has, or whatever you want to call that armor, Class 1A armor set. Like, by the way, it was still cool ass. It's cool as shit seeing him like just armor up like that to fight him. But he also still has enough strength to basically, I think he's in that scenario he was in his rematch with One For All. I always do, All For One. Where you have 2, maybe 3 punches left, All Might. That's basically what we have here. The difference in that scenario versus this, the difference between this scenario, the original scenario, and this scenario is the fact that in the original scenario, All Might pushed All For One really damn hard and nearly blew his ass up. And then it just reverted to a baby. You add the fact that he still has just enough juice in the tank left, or gas in the tank left, to use One For All a few more times, that might push his ass to the brink and actually kill him outright and turn him just into the baby and then just nothing. Now, mind you, he's still within Shigaraki's mind and therefore does still take him over. But it's at that point, but as Midoriya is trying to save him, and the walls get broken down, he ultimately is, Midoriya is ultimately able to do what he did for Shigaraki here, I imagine. Whereas he's able to kind of alter the memories a little bit, and then obviously All For One comes in. The only difference here now is that that Deku, knowing what he has to do, is like, fine. And he still has embers left of One For All. So he goes full power One For All. No need to put Eri into this. Full power One For All, because he's not missing his arms or anything like that, and puts it into one final blast, and basically kind of just does a Kamehameha, just boom, and he just and like lightning, just and just he's just right in front of him, huh? Goodbye, One For All For One, and just boom, and just and that's the end of All For One and Shigaraki. And really, when it came to like the epilogue of My Hero, it would be a lot of the same. Like, he wouldn't really have much left in the tank. He still has his quirk, so he's able to just zap around all he wants. He can still be a hero, but he also becomes a teacher. I see that happening as well. There really isn't much else to say, if we're going to be honest here. It's the stories that are going to be more interesting with Deku getting quirks or whatever are going to be the stories that have more unique powers or weaker but still interesting abilities to talk about. So, like, for example, one of the suggestions that's been brought up multiple times, and it will probably be in the next rundown of lists for the My Hero What Ifs, is what if he was force sensitive? That is a very unique idea, because that doesn't inherently make him overpowered or anything like that. Whereas Giving Kurama kinda did. This definitely did. Being the son of Lobo, it made him powerful for that verse. The only one that didn't make him overly powerful was having a unique quirk, that was a blend of his mom and dad. But I digress. That's the end of this What If. What did you think? I know it's kind of all over the place a little bit. Remember, I've only just started in the grand scheme of things for the channel doing the My Hero What Ifs. I'm finding my stride, but the little nuanced stuff will probably take a little bit more time for me to really figure out. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one.